All righty. Well, good afternoon and welcome to our 28th COVID community conversation. Today, I'm honored and excited to be joined by some of our staff members here at City Hall. These are some of our amazing women in leadership who have helped to guide our city during this pandemic. Although we have 9 people here with us today, we could have just as easily had 99, but for the sake of the time in this conversation, we had to limit it for now. You know, this may be part 1 of a series of women in leadership at City Hall. When we look at the national landscape with our first female vice president-elect and historic appointments of females in national leadership, it is exciting, empowering, and long overdue. Our team here at Aurora has always been comprised of women in leadership since my administration began nearly 4 years ago. It's not by chance or to fulfill some quota. I want the best of the best, the brightest of the brightest in these positions, and at the same time, make sure that the playing field is level and equitable for all. And I think as you look on the screen, anybody out there in Facebook land see that we have just that. But to have so many women in leadership is not lost on me and our community, particularly our youth. It is powerful to know that young girls can look at this screen and see women in leadership and know that the glass ceiling can be shattered and they can do it too. They can accomplish their goals and lead with excellence. So let's jump into this COVID-19 talk with our women in leadership. Now I'm gonna introduce everybody and just have you give like a 60-second introduction of who you are and what you do for the city, and then we'll jump in the conversation. Let's start out with my homegirl, Ruthie Harris.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ruthie Harris, and I am the management assistant in the Division of Property Standards. I started with the city of Aurora in 1996 as a temp, and I was hired in 96 as well in the building and permits department. I was then promoted within the same department as a permit clerk. And that was in 97. 99, I was promoted to an inspector where I stayed for 20 plus years until last year when I was promoted to this position as the management assistant.
Absolutely. I had the pleasure of, in my administration to promote Ruthie to that position, and she has done an outstanding job.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Let's go on to Leela Karmari.
Good afternoon. As I said, I'm Leela Karmari. I'm Director, Cyber and Technology Risk. I have 30 plus years of experience in IT security, risk and compliance within banking industry. I joined City of Aurora in February 2019. They're here?
Absolutely. Well, good to have you aboard. You're relatively new with us, one of our new hires, and you've done an amazing job, an outstanding job as well. And just to let everybody know, she handles the security and making sure that she protects our IT system. So we get emails from Leela all the time, making sure that we're staying on our game and protecting our network system here. So thank you for everything you do. All right, let's go on to Alicia Lewis.
Hi, I'm Alicia Lewis. I'm currently the Director of Human Resources and have been in this role for the last 10 years. I did start with the city in 1996 as an administrative assistant, served in a number of different roles, including Assistant Chief of Staff in the Mayor's office for about 6 years. Resident of Aurora since 96 and born in Chicago, raised in the south suburbs, but I love that Aurora is my new home.
All right, Aurora's home. Well, Alicia, thanks for having me on. Now, Alicia had been here in that position, before I became mayor. But once I became mayor, she immediately became part of the team, and we put her in a spot where she is one of the strongest leaders. Matter of fact, one of my few executive and only African-American executive females at the top level that leads the whole department. So she is a great leader, and I hopefully one day follow in your footsteps with all your great leadership abilities. All right, well, you're very welcome. Let's go on to Maria Lindsey.
Hi, good afternoon.
My right hand.
Hi, good afternoon. And left hand, Mayor, right and left.
Right and left, right.
My name is Maria Lindsey. I am the office manager for the mayor's office. But I directly work with Mayor Irvin. I came into the city of Aurora almost 4 years ago. I came in with the new administration, so I came in with Mayor Irvin. I have been working with Mayor Irvin for the almost 11 years, I think.
I lose count
It's
there.
been so, yeah, but I love working for the city of Aurora. I love working for Mayor, for everyone in this team. And I also am from Aurora. I graduated from East Aurora. So thank you for
EA.
having me. EA.
I had to throw that out there. Now, Maria,
Yes.
you pointed out we've been working together for over 11 years, and she helped me run my law firm, my other career before I became mayor. So when I got elected, she was the first person I thought of that I needed to help me, lead this city forward, and she's done a great job. So thank you for your support, Maria. All right, let's go on to Amy Monroe.
Hello, I'm Amy Monroe, and I have been with the city since 2014. And since that time, I've served as redevelopment coordinator with the Community Development Division. And prior to this position, I've been in government now close to 21 years. And prior to Aurora, I worked for Will County and also the city of Elgin in historic preservation and grants management. And then for a brief time, I worked at the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference in member services and communications.
Now, Amy here deals with all of our federal grants that we get from the federal government. We call it community development block grants. So that supports all our social service agencies outreach in the city of Aurora. So all of our agencies that rely on the city, they really rely on Amy to get the job done. So thank you very much, Amy. I had the opportunity to work with her as well as Alicia when I was an alderman for all the years before I became mayor. So I really relied on both of them to help me through once I gained this office. So thank you very much, Amy. Let's go to Liz Robinson Chan, my homegirl from way back.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Hey there, Liz. How you doing? Well, let me wait. I didn't throw that first part in there. Lieutenant Liz Robinson Chan. That's very important.
Yes,
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Liz Robinson Chan. I was hired by the city of Aurora in 1993 as a patrol officer and worked many years in patrol and COP, the Community Oriented Policing Division. I was promoted to sergeant in June of 2012, went to evidence for a few years, and then back to the support services division as an administrative sergeant. Then I was promoted out of that position this year in July to the rank of lieutenant. I'm currently assigned to Area 2 in the city of Aurora that runs all the way west to the Fox River and east to the county line, which is just east of Farnsworth. And then I'm in control of everything in between those boundaries. I'm currently second shift and enjoying everything I do.
Absolutely. We enjoy having you. Now, let me say there are two women in command at the police department, the chief of police and Lieutenant Liz Robinson. And matter of fact, Liz is the first African-American woman ever in that position in command in the police department. I say Liz and I go way back because back when I was an assistant state's attorney years ago, working in the community as a community-based prosecutor, Liz was one of those officers that we relied on way back then to just get the job done and work in the community and make things happen. So now in leadership, she gets to take that knowledge she's learned all the way from the bottom, and work that at the top and, and still help people, and her officers throughout the whole police department, the whole city of Aurora. So thank you very, very much, Liz, for everything you do. Let's go on to next one, Bea Rodriguez-Franzen.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Bea, and I am Program Manager of Innovation, and I'm new this year. I just joined the city of Aurora this year. And before the city, I enjoyed an 18-year career working for various nonprofits and higher education institutions in Chicagoland in the areas of youth development, grant writing, fundraising, project management, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And I'm also a doctoral student at Aurora University, where my husband is a professor.
You?
And yes, and I wanted to share my children who are, it's actually a puppy and a tortoise. The puppy is a year and a half, and the tortoise is 13 years old. And finally, I'm a first-generation Filipina. I came to the US by myself on a college student visa, got my green card through my first job, and became an American citizen in 2018.
Wow, Bea, that's great. Well, welcome aboard, Bea. Now, right when the pandemic began, we put a hiring freeze on new employees. Bea is probably one of the only few people that we've hired, you know, during this freeze, because you recognized her value and what we needed her to do for the city. And she's done in this short time a very good job. So thank you very much, Bea, for joining the team. Like having you aboard. Alex Voigt, leaders in the mayor's office, couldn't function without her. What's going on, Alex? I call her AV.
Yes,
AV.
yes.
Just to
Good afternoon,
remind
everybody.
them.
Yes, I'm one of two Alexes, so I go by AV, and our other Alex is AA. So I serve as Deputy Chief of Staff for Mayor Irvin. I started with the city back in 2010. I started as assistant to the mayor at that time, and it was my first job in my field after I finished grad school. So I've been able to stay with the city since that time. I've served in a few different roles here and there, interim city clerk a couple of times, interim over in the emergency management agency at one point. So it's been a lot of fun. I was born and raised in Aurora also. I grew up on the southeast side, and I still live in Aurora, and I love it.
And we love you, Alex. And let me just say that that, you know, whenever a mayor comes into office, he likes to bring his own people in, his own folks that, you know, that he's comfortable with and whatnot. Just like I brought Maria in for my law office with me and made all my picks to help run the office. Alex is the only person from the prior administration that actually stayed in the mayor's office with me. You know, we wanted some consistency, and, you know, we wanted to make sure we knew how everything worked. And I knew Alex, having worked with her as an alderman for so many years. And at times when she filled in as clerk, I'd sit right next to her as alderman at large. So I knew Alex was the person that we needed to keep in the office. And not only am I happy I made that decision, you know, without Alex, I don't think the mayor's office would run nearly as smoothly as it does. So thank you very much for everything you do for the city of Aurora.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And last but definitely not least, one of our new superstars, Natalie Wiza.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for having all of us on here this afternoon. My name is Natalie Wiza. I am the coordinator for Aurora's Emergency Management Agency, and I came into the city in July of 2019, so I'm still fairly new here. I'm not a native to Aurora. I do come from more rural roots compared to a lot of people on this phone call, but I have grown fond of Aurora, of this great team that we get to work with. And then also just the city in and of itself. So in the near future, we will be moving into Aurora. So we look forward to that.
Hey. All right. Yeah. Glad to hear.
But for
That's
now,
my goal for everybody, but you know.
Yeah. But for now, I currently reside still in my hometown, little bedroom community just south of here with my husband and two children. Prior to coming into emergency management, I was an EMS. I was a full-time paramedic. And then after I got out of being a paramedic, after having my son, I finished my education. And it was at the end of my bachelor's degree that I realized there was this whole big world of emergency management out there. So from bachelor's to 2 weeks later, I started grad school, and I graduated with a master's degree in emergency management. And I'm really glad I did. And I'm glad I found an opportunity in Aurora.
Now, let me tell you a little bit about Natalie. Is, you know, and it's the same story that with all the women leadership that we have on the screen. She actually came in, you know, last July in 2019 as the assistant to the emergency management director. And as we came into 2020 and all this stuff started to, you know, first of all, we noticed talents immediately right out of the box as she came in as support. But during the pandemic, Natalie stepped up to help this city out in ways that we never thought. So we actually replaced the old guy with Natalie and said, you know what, Natalie's doing such a good job. Let's just put Natalie in that leadership position, you know, and let her lead the city during this emergency management crisis we have. And since then, Natalie has been a superstar. So thank you very much, Natalie, for everything you do with the city. I remember making that telephone call to you and asking you if you were ready to step up. And that was like,
I was, but thank you for that opportunity and phone call.
And you did just that. So, all right, ladies, let's get into this conversation a little bit. You know, I'm going to start over again and ask you a little bit of what you do for the city and how you make the city run. First of all, let me tell everybody, without this leadership you see, you know, on the screen here, this city would not run. Our citizens wouldn't be safe as they are now. We wouldn't have the services that we get now. We wouldn't have, you know, the low taxes that we have because, you know, we're running smoothly and trying to be efficient. as well as effective. But all these leaders here play a role in making Aurora the best city that it is, one of the best in the state of Illinois, the best, I say. So let me ask you, I'll start over, and I'll go the opposite direction and just tell a little bit about what you do and what your position is. I know you gave your titles, but what exactly do you do? Natalie, people hear, emergency management. People really don't know what that means. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't know what it meant until I became an alderman. What is that? What do you do?
So that's a really great point. A lot of people don't tend to know what emergency management is unless we are talking about the federal umbrella. And when somebody says FEMA, they're like, oh yes, we know what FEMA is. But emergency management is a broader scope, and it actually trickles all the way down to the local municipal governments, such as Aurora and a lot of our neighboring cities. So what emergency management does is we deal with emergency planning, emergency recovery. We deal with understanding the threats and hazards that are knocking at the door of Aurora. So we have a deep integration into disaster risk management. So we weigh the options and the odds and the choices that we're making, because in our risk management world, we understand that things are going to happen and we cannot negate or stop them. So when an incident happens, such as a tornado or a pandemic, we kind of step up and say, okay, here's what's happening now. Here's our knowns. Here's what's happening down the pipeline. And then here's a potential for things to happen. And how are we going to bolster, as not only this agency, but as an entire team in the City of Aurora government and our external partners, how do we still care for our community and the critical essential functions, or meeting the basic needs of people who may have been impacted by an event? So that's pretty much what emergency management is, scratching the surface. Looking at the pandemic, none of us thought we would be in a pandemic, right? So when we study in emergency management, we look at natural and man-made, and biological isn't something we always look at. Thankfully, we have our public health partners. So this was really an exciting time. But the job that I do from incident to incident doesn't really change much, because history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. So even if we're looking at a tornadic event versus this pandemic, we still are going to have issues with mass care and getting people food and shelter, economic relief we have to think about. Also, we're looking at, what is our government structure going to do? How can we remain stable so we can help the community remain stable? So I've dealt a lot with finances and helping plan, and kind of just help throwing different ideas and thoughts out there of what we should be thinking, or this is coming down the pipeline, we need to start doing it now.
Absolutely. And let me say, when stuff happens, and we can take that word stuff in and put it, another word in there, another 4-letter word in there we don't want to say, right, on Facebook Live, but we know it's going to happen. And Natalie is there to prepare to make sure when it's happening, we're all running around like chickens with our heads cut off, like, what the heck? Natalie keeps us together and says, no, this is the process and procedure we need to follow and to make sure we come out of this okay. And she's done a great job, with that, especially with this pandemic. We've seen that over the last 9 months, 10 months. And thank you very much for everything you do, Natalie. You've kept us together. Now, Voight, Alex, AV, tell people a little bit about what you, other than making sure that I'm not in tears every time I leave mayor's office every day and go home, what do you do?
Well, I don't like following Natalie, first of all. She just spoke so beautifully about what she does. And I do also, I want to compliment Natalie, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and she also is still managing to think ahead and plan for the future, in addition to taking care of some things that should have been done some time ago. So she's balancing a lot. So what I do in the mayor's office, it varies day to day. We deal a lot with policy. We deal a lot with city operations. We're focused. Really, what drives my day is what's happening in the city at any given moment. So we've been very COVID focused, but also just wrapped up the budget for 2021. And again, working very closely. I work very closely with Natalie in EMA. I work with the city clerk's office. I manage our boards and commissions. just to name a few. So there's a lot of different things that happen in the mayor's office, but it is a really exciting job. And it's a great place to work in terms of a broad array of topics and subjects that you get to explore.
Now Alex is, and she's always humble, in what she says, what she does, and but most people don't really know what goes on in city government, all the different facets that happen, from policing to fire to public works to community services to inspections to HR, dealing with our over 1,200 employees that we have here. No one really knows. It's like we've got this this microcosm of this government, not just that, just the people, and we deal with making sure we protect the lives and provide the services for 200,000 people. When I was elected to office, people say, "Oh, you're the mayor," and they just think that I sit in the office all day pretending to be the mayor. No, we got stuff that we do constantly. And Alex right there is on the front lines making sure that we do it and we get it done right. So thank you very much for your service, Alex. All right, Bea. Tell people a little bit about what you do. Your newcomer recently brought on.
Yes, I'm really happy to be part of the innovation department, which is tasked with really social innovation. We are constantly coming up with new ideas that we test and explore so that we can enhance the lives of our residents. And two of the projects that I currently oversee is the Aurora Financial Empowerment Center, or FEC, and also Thrive Collaborative Center. So Aurora FEC we're the first city in Illinois to offer this much needed public service. We provide free one-on-one financial coaching to Aurora residents age 18 and over. And we launched during the last week of April this year in the middle of the pandemic. And our financial coaches quickly pivoted to counseling our clients over the phone. And we found that many of our residents were facing food insecurity and job losses. So our counselors helped them access emergency support services, such as referrals to food pantries, helping them apply for rental assistance, utility assistance programs. And aside from helping residents stabilize their lives, they've coached to this, as of December 1, a total of 245 clients. And collectively, these clients have saved a total of $67,000 and reduced their debt by more than $205,000. And these numbers keep rising by the day. And I wanted to share too that regardless of the health effects of COVID on you and your family, the pandemic will likely continue to impact household finances now and for years to come. So please don't hesitate to learn more about this free service. We have upcoming webinars and events. On December 17 at 6 p.m., our counselors will be sharing CARES Act protection updates, particularly around evictions, mortgage forbearance, student loans, and your 2020 tax filings.
Wow. Now, see, hearing you speak, you would think you've worked here for years. So, you clearly hit the ground running, and we're happy to have you aboard and looking forward to some of your innovative ideas on helping move Aurora forward. Thank you very much, Bea. Let's go to Liz Robinson-Chan. Liz, what's up? Tell the people what you do. Now, most people know what police officers do in general. What does lieutenant do? You're on mute. I can't hear you, Liz. Let me see. Now try it one more time. Nope, still can't hear you. I heard you earlier. Try it again. Nope, still don't hear you for some reason. Tell you what, Liz, we're going to come right back. Try it again. Can I hear you? We're going to come back to you in just 1 second, and Ms. Muhammad, if we can try to figure out what's going on with Liz's audio, because we definitely want to hear what Lieutenant Liz Robinson-Chan has to say. We'll come back to you. Amy Monroe, tell the people exactly what you do, because what, I'm not gonna lie, I was an alderman for 10 years and I would see you all the time. I'm like, what does that lady do? I mean, and it's still only having worked with you directly, as mayor and seeing everything that you do. Oh, there you're coming back in. I'll come right back to you. Seeing what you do with the CDBG funds, which are so hard, so very difficult, to manage, because the federal government has so many requirements on how to use that money. Tell the people what you do in a way that they would understand.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So my role is to serve on the team in the Community Development Division in administering the Community Development Block Grant funds, which are HUD dollars that come on an annual basis to the city. And generally, we get about 1.5 million per year. And so my responsibility is just to make sure that I'm just working behind the scenes to ensure that the dollars are meeting the city's needs and priorities that were established by our community constituents. And so what this means is that on our team, we have to ensure that the dollars go towards community development needs such as affordable housing, economic development, and then services to our underserved communities. And so these are anti-poverty dollars that come to us for these various initiatives. And we also receive additional funding for affordable housing through our home program, which is also funded through HUD. So on a daily basis, I'm responsible just with working with our partner agencies to help them navigate the nuances of these federally funded dollars for their own programs that they deliver to assist city residents and businesses. So that's kind of it. I hope that was what you were
that did. And I bet you people are going like, what? But let me tell you that without your support and working with those dollars and getting that money out and supporting those social service agencies, Aurora wouldn't be the city it is that to provide everything to our community that we have. I mean, I'll have you describe a few of these social service agencies that you support.
Sure. So some of them are related to housing. So we have Rebuilding Together Aurora and the Neighbor Project, which are two of our partner agencies, and they provide services for housing rehab. Another agency that serves our homeless population is Hesed House, which many in the city are likely familiar with as an agency that definitely is the second largest homeless shelter in the state, and we are certainly grateful for their services. So we offer funding assistance to them. And then we have Domestic Violence Shelter with Mutual Ground, and several other nonprofits that serve senior services. And then also in the past, we've had Family Focus that was one of our youth services that we provided assistance to. So it kind of runs the gamut, but we do try to touch all aspects of community development, particularly in serving the low-income communities who might not have access to services.
Thank you very much. I think that sums it up well. Liz, can we hear you?
Me now?
Yes, we can. Absolutely.
Okay, much better. I think IT fixed me up here.
Okay, good.
So, well, to begin, I work second shift. We have 48 officers currently on this shift, and 20 of those officers are under my purview, 3 of those, and 3 sergeants. As a department with regards to COVID, I would say when we first heard about it, there was a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainty with regards to what it was and how we were going to handle it to keep our officers and community safe. I remember that on March 18th, my command staff called and requested that I put together a 12-hour functional work schedule for APD, and it included several divisions within our department, patrol officers, our CLP unit, traffic division, school resource officers, along with sergeants to supervise those squads. Officers were assigned to 2 different 12-hour shifts, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And the work schedule had to properly function without overtaxing the system and not having too many people booked off at the same time. We had to allow officers off, in enough time in order to give them a break after working so many consecutive shifts. All vacations were taken away in order to make sure we had enough officers available and ensure everything ran smoothly and efficiently. I was also asked to create a spreadsheet for COVID exposures, include like names and squads, dates, times, locations, whether or not officers were showing symptoms, whether or not they were quarantined, and by whom, any other miscellaneous information that came about. I also track sick time, other leaves, military leave, maternity, paternity, and all other leaves, light duty officers and the like. Um, as a whole, I would say that I believe we as supervisors, it's about being a resource for our people. It's our responsibility to ensure their safety and well-being of all of our officers. We have to check up on them when they're sick. We have to help them cope when we know that they're going through things, whether it's work-related or personal, make sure that they have proper resources needed to do their jobs effectively and efficiently to better serve the citizens of Aurora. I believe that as supervisors, we also bring about awareness, and we have to keep the doors of communication open. We have to make sure that officers have a complete understanding of what their expectations, their limitations are, and what their needs are to maximize efficiency during this, I would say, difficult and unprecedented times. And this can only be done through communication, by us being present, by us being available, as well as approachable.
And let me just say this. I know first of all, everything you just said is the stuff that you do, and you do this every single day. And then when you leave your office every day, or the police department, and you go home, then you also have to take care of a little 3.5-year-old.
Oh no, she's 6 now. She's 6.
Oh, she's 6 now. Oh my God!
She's
wow,
my big girl. I want to show you a picture.
Okay, please do. Oh my God!
My daughter,
Oh,
our beautiful 6-year-old.
Such a sweet little 6-year. Oh my gosh, she just grew up overnight, it seemed like.
Yes, sir.
But everything that you just described about the role that they asked you did all that as a sergeant. You weren't even a lieutenant yet.
No, sir.
And because of the good job you did, I think you were recognized as one of the people that they definitely should report. And I know we're spending a lot of time talking about, what we've been doing during COVID. And I know these have been COVID talks, but one of the other large accomplishments that we still like to give you, I want to recognize you and give you credit for is your role at the Pratt shooting, where we had 5 officers shot, and unfortunately, 5 community members, lives were taken. That you were on the scene, that day, and writing procedure and policy, and helping people navigate and figure out, what we need to do to make sure this doesn't happen again, and just to handle the situation on the scene.
Yes, sir. We pretty much worked as a team, and we even had other agencies involved. Outside of APD, we had the coroner's office and state police, FBI, ATF. There were so many hands in the pot. Kane County Major Crimes, and we all came together cohesively when the time was needed, and we were able to, get things done as a whole, as a team. There was no one single entity or unit that helped us achieve success during that time.
Well, let me say this, that I'm glad you were on the front line with that team to help with that success and get us through that terrible time in Aurora's history. And I'm glad that you're here now during this terrible time, throughout the country, throughout the world, helping us get through this as well. So thank you very much, Liz Robinson-Chan.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Liz Robinson-Chan. All right, let's go on to Maria Lindsey. What exactly do you do for the mayor's office and, the city of Aurora? Now, I know what you do, and my left hand and my right hand, but tell the people what you do and your value.
Thank you, Mayor. Like you mentioned, my number one priority is to assist you to make sure that you are at meetings, to make sure that all the messages come in. We do get a lot of calls, a lot of emails to the mayor's office, and we have to make sure that those messages and those calls come to you. I do apologize for my background noise. I do have birds, and I have 2 e-learners, so we're trying to multitask. This has been going on since the beginning of COVID. So sometimes I'm in a meeting and the birds want to be louder than me, and I do apologize for that.
And the kids.
And the kids, or they come in the middle of a meeting because they want to talk too. But my number one role is, any meeting request, anything that comes pertaining the mayor, to make sure that we schedule that. Any speaking arrangements, all that comes to through me first, and then it gets filtered and onto you. Now, I want to talk a little bit about COVID and my role. Now, when COVID happened back in March or April, it seems like 5 years ago, the mayor was the first one, along with the chief of police, that did get COVID. So right away, we all went on this mode of, let's see how we're gonna make sure that the city keeps running. So that was scheduling 500 meetings left and right, making sure that everybody was doing their job, making sure that we were communicating with all 13 executives. The mayor does have 13 executives under himself that run each department. So my job was to make sure to communicate with everyone that we all needed to be on the same page. So that's pretty, to some, like Alex Voigt said, there's a lot that happens in the mayor's office. It's not always the same day. Every day is different. But that would have to be one of my main roles. Prior to COVID, one of my best favorite part of my job was visiting the schools. Mayor Irvin loves to visit schools. We love saying hi to the kids. We love going to see all those kids, and it makes our jobs just so much better. Visiting businesses, being out in the community. Now we're stuck on Zoom, and this is what we do. So, I mean, I'm ready to get back to normal. I'm ready to be in an office, and I'm ready to send my kids to school.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Maria, you're also being humble as well. Not only is, you know, support for me, she support for Alex Voigt, she supports for Alex Alexandru, for Deputy Mayor, you know, everybody in the mayor's office, and she's our office manager. So she's the glue that kind of holds everything together. So we appreciate Maria being here with us. And thanks for all your support when I was sick with COVID, you know, holding it together and keeping things running.
We had long days during COVID at the beginning. Sometimes we would start at 5 a.m. and we wouldn't go to bed until 10 o'clock, and we would have to do it again. So we're a team.
And as mayor, you know, I tend to get selfish. Like everything is all about me, you know, in the office. I'm like, Maria, I need you to do this. And she's like, well, I got to help Alex Voigt. I got to help, you know, Alexandru. I got to help the deputy. I'm like, well, wait, who are you working for here? But everybody, you know, we work together as a team. And I have to recognize that, you know, I'm just one of the team members as well. And they help keep this thing rolling. They help keep everything together. And Maria just doesn't work for me. She works the whole mayor's office, the whole city. And I recognize that and recognize her value in that role. Now, Maria, you said that we had, you know, 13 executives. And I mean, explain how the city works. We have these executives at the top, which we call department heads. And under them, they have division heads. And there's a lot of divisions under each department. And under that, you know, we have, you know, the managers and supervisors. And under that, we have, you know, the actual workers, the frontline workers that are out there in the community. You know, one of my executives or division heads that I rely on, you know, all the time is Alicia Lewis. So Alicia, why don't you explain to the people exactly what you do?
Well, I oversee human resources. So human resources is the internal department that really looks at and provides the needs of the organization in regards to the workforce. And so, in fact, I have one of my coworkers, my assistant director, would say that human resources, LaDonna, is one of the
Donna, shout out.
Exactly, is the most important department in the organization because it's the glue that keeps everybody together. Mm-hmm. So from, you know, recruiting and hiring to dealing with employee relations, negotiating contracts, because we do have 8 collective bargaining groups within the city, to making sure our workforce's benefits are good and competitive. There is a variety of concentrations under human resources that we look at to make sure that you know, our management and employees are taken care of, and we have the strongest and best workforce in order to provide services to our community. So that's generally the description of human resources and how we, you know, what our service is to the organization.
So pretty much you take care of the people that help the city of Aurora take care of our community.
We always get people to take care of our people.
Right, exactly right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And, you know, and as I mentioned earlier, we have 9 women in leadership that are on the screen with us today on this, you know, Facebook session. However, we have, you know, it could have easily been 99 people on the same screen. As a matter of fact, in Alicia's department, she is a department head, and she has 2 assistant directors, both women.
Correct.
So, you know, we have even more leadership under you that you're bringing up, you know, to show how to get things done. So we thank you very much. One of the LaDonna, who we identified earlier, Donna Carr, and then Liz.
Liz Coronado. Yep.
All right. Well, yeah, we're trying to make things happen here in the city of Aurora. What'd you say?
I said my best sidekicks.
You're exactly right. Right. Exactly right. All right. Let's go on to Leela. Leela, can you tell the people a little bit now? Oftentimes when we talk about IT, and talk especially there's so many different facets of IT, and in IT there's different divisions, and you got a lot of stuff going on. What exactly do you do, and how do you fit into the whole IT umbrella? You're on mute. There you go. Perfect.
So let me take the first question, sir.
Okay.
My objective during COVID-19 or on a regular day, it is to ensure the city systems and assets are secure. And how I do? I focus on 3 domains: people, processes, and technology. So let us take my first domain, the people. So everybody knows people are the weak link in the security. So I continue educate the staff regarding the cybersecurity. I keep on doing a lot of trainings, phishing campaigns, and tests. So not even the employees IT security division or IT department or the city, we offer the home internet security courses to Aurora residents. So, this course, it assists the citizens to make wise decisions. So, now everybody is using internet. So we need to have those lessons like how securely we need to use that internet. So that includes we have to protect our children from online crimes. So we should know how we do our banking safely online. So it's so on and so forth. There are good courses we are offering. So not only that, so there are so many cyber crimes going on now. So for example, take the unemployment insurance claim that is going through now. So we reach the residents through weekly newsletters. So let me take the second thing, processes. So we want to reinforce the forced behavior by implementing these security policies. For example, I take data security policy. With implementing this data security policy, we not only protect the data of the city, and we protect the residents' data too. The other one, the security policy, which protects the security part of the technology. And if you take the, I want to add to this. We have a incident response plan and a disaster recovery plan we developed. So this helps to recognize if any cyber incidents happens, the staff, they can communicate, how to respond to this cyber incident. And with the disaster recovery plan, we know how to recover fast and come to normalcy. So if I go on to the third thing, the technology part of it. So we have implemented certain technologies that protects the city assets. So we keep the mission essential functions like police, fire, water, electricity, and traffic. They go smooth without any interruption. So this is part of the cybersecurity and part of the IT team. As an IT team, we are working on.
I don't think, and I think after hearing you speak, everybody, you will probably recognize, I know why she's working, in IT. You are on point there. And I don't think people recognize that all these things are associated with IT, the police department, the fire department, our street lights, water, all that stuff has some IT component. And your job is to protect it from these cyber criminals that are out there trying to infiltrate. Now, oftentimes we hear about these, these companies or, these bad actors that hold cities ransom they'll put something on your system and hold you ransom. Your job is to make sure that they never get in our system and they never ever, take, hurt us, take us for granted. Now, matter of fact, you said that you do some training, and you do what's called real world training. You use the term phishing earlier, which I had never heard that term before. So what phishing does, and often a lot of us, how we always get these emails and we don't always recognize them, but we open them and read them. You're not supposed to do that. So what Leela does into teaching us how not to do that, she sends us these emails, and we want to click, and I want to click on them. Like, well, I got one from HR one time, and I clicked on it first before calling Alicia and saying, did you send me this email? So I clicked on it. Then I called Alicia. Alicia, you sent me this email? She was like, no. It was Leela catching. I was like, oh, Leela got me. So now every time I click on one of these emails, I would take a class on why I shouldn't click on these emails, and that we all have to do that. So she's teaching us how to navigate our systems here in the city of Aurora. So we as people, as you pointed out, don't, bring something in that will affect our system. So thank you very much for all you do. You want to say something?
Yeah, one single click can take over all the systems down, the whole city down.
Wow, one single click of the mouse.
Yeah.
Wow, and you're making sure that doesn't happen. You're doing a great job.
Exactly.
All right, so let's go to Ruthie Harris, who helps with doing so many things in our city. People don't even recognize the value of your department and what you do. So I want you to tell people, what exactly do you do, and what does your department do?
Well, our department is Development Service Center, but in my unit, which is the Property Standards Department, our department is responsible for the public health, safety, and welfare of our citizens. So basically what we do is on a day-to-day basis, we make sure that our homes are safe. And especially those rental properties that we have over 10,000 plus rentals that are registered with the city. And those are the ones that are registered. We know that there's some out there that are not, but the ones that are registered, we have to make sure that those are all in compliance and that they meet, it's a minimum standard code. However, they have to be safe for all our renters, our tenants, to make sure that they are safe living in these homes. It goes from making sure that they have, life safety is smoke detectors, carbon monoxide. Those are very important things to have. And it can be as minor as a cracked foundation, something of that nature. But our department makes sure that these violations are recognized, that they're cited, and they are abated by the owner of the property, whether it's a single family home or a rental. So with, our code, when this pandemic started, it put a little stop on our day-to-day, because the inspectors were not allowed to enter into the properties. So we had to adapt to the new, for now, normal, which was, we were asking the owners of these rental properties, we will need for you to let us see the violations that we cited prior to the pandemic via video. And that's how we've been trying to make sure that all these violations that are of a life safety matter are taken care of. And, and making sure that we have to keep our citizens in mind, because some of our citizens want to make sure that even though we're in the middle of this, that their neighbors doesn't have all this junk and trash outside. So we have to keep their needs in mind as well as the inspector's safety.
So, and I often thought about, what exactly, does that department do, and how can I describe it if I had to break it down simply? You make sure Aurora looks good. You make sure when people drive through the city, there's no junk and trash everywhere. Aurora looks good. There's not grass, 10 feet tall in somebody's yard. And you make sure that neighbors respect each other. If you got two houses living next to each other, you don't want, your neighbor's grass, 5 feet in the air, when you're trying to take care of your house. And then you make sure that when they're in situations with renters or even homeowners, that they're protecting themselves inside their house with smoke detectors and stuff. So you guys do a lot of stuff, and I think you should be recognized for that. And I'm really glad that you're in that position.
Thank you.
I think now that you're very welcome. I think now that we've introduced all our departments and, and what you guys do, let's just talk generally, about women in leadership and this, proverbial, glass ceiling that, we've all heard of, and talk a little bit about, and I'll just, ask some questions, what does it feel like? What does it feel like to have broken that glass ceiling and, and continue to break it as you gain more recognition and rise up, in your positions and in the city government or, whatever jobs you do? Is it hard to break that ceiling? And how does it feel when you've actually broken it and you've getting this leadership? I'll start with Lieutenant Robinson.
Okay. I would say that breaking through the glass ceiling was not easy, not in the least little bit, especially moving up the ranks, in the police department, because in my experience, I feel that promotions and assignments were often affected by gender, in my last almost 3 decades.
Well, you're a police officer, so most people think of a police officer as some guy, but I think that's not the case. And you're the only second woman ever in history in that leadership role, right?
Yes, sir, as a lieutenant or higher.
Yeah.
We also have another female minority supervisor, Lorena Hernandez.
Just became a sergeant. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. So there are 3 of us in leadership positions right now.
Wow.
I wanted to make sure we recognized her. I would say that it was a hard road traveled, but I believe that women are more important in law enforcement now than ever before, more so. In my humble opinion, I feel that police officers in many cases tend to be women police officers. We tend to be more effective than our male counterparts in avoiding and diffusing difficult and potentially violent situations. We sometimes see things differently, but in the same sense, we're also seen differently. And this can be a benefit when we're trying to look for atypical responses in an incident. Women react differently and we create a different outcome in many cases. Besides different ways of dealing with conflict, we bring a lot of other positive aspects to the job as well. Not all of us, I've worked out, competed, but I would say that not all women have the brute strength of men, but their bravery, creativity, their verbal skills make them ideal for this job. And I would say that besides size has nothing to do with being a good police officer. With regards to challenges, I find that upward movement is harder for female officers in a male-dominated profession. I feel that we have to work 4 times as hard for not even a quarter of the credit. We do more than what is asked or required of us in many cases, but we're not always given the same amount of respect as our male counterparts. But over the years, I feel like we've made tremendous improvements because some people do choose to do the right things with regards to fairness. You ask about benefits. As far as benefits, for those of us women who have succeeded, I feel that we're able to open up doors and pave the way for other women to achieve success. We can stand up for what's right. We can be a voice for those who haven't been given a fair opportunity for progression. But I say this for both men and women alike because, we all need a fair shake. As a leader, you have to stand up for what's right and not jump on the bandwagon. You have to be willing to separate what's right from what's popular in a sense. I also found that you don't always get the answer that you were looking for when you do what's right, basically. But the fact that you said something or did something about a situation is what really matters. And others see it, your troops see it, people in your purview. You're able to build trust because, integrity is something you do when nobody's looking.
Well, I like that. Integrity is something, that you exercise, that you show, that you do when nobody's paying attention, and that's important. And you clearly have that.
You know what, sir? It's like we have to we judge a society and how it treats people with the least amount of power. And this goes for officers as well as our citizens. I keep a quote in mind, Albert Einstein, we're all familiar with, who once said, the one who follows the crowd will usually go no further than the crowd, but the one who walks alone is the one who finds himself in places that no one has been. So you have to sometimes take that initiative and, stand up tall when no one else will.
Wow. There's always got to be a first, so I'm glad you're one of them. Alex Voigt, tell me a little bit about this glass ceiling. You know, what do you think about it? And then, you know, what are the challenges and the benefits of it?
I mean, the challenges are when I started in the mayor's office many years ago, and as I started to move up and, you know, serving on committees and those sorts of things, when I would go to these meetings, I was very often the only woman in the room or one of a few. And it's interesting because I don't know if it's my background starting as an assistant or just because I was one of the few women. It's like you take on a lot of the administrative tasks. You end up doing a lot of the work, really. And I think that's kind of a challenge because while I enjoy that aspect of it, and I would encourage people to take that and do the work because that's where you learn, I think that's one of the areas where women, and I know I have struggled to move forward, is that I don't always end up being, you know, the sidekick and the administrative person. It's, you know, this administration specifically has given all of us here and me opportunities to go as far as you want to go and do as much as you want to do. But that comes with its own set of challenges because you have to kind of create a path. And that's a challenge in and of itself because you don't, you know, you can try to emulate the men that are on your team, or you can try to realize that you have your own unique voice and you have your own unique perspective. And that's where, you know, that takes a lot of learning. And I will give credit to the mayor here because he will call on you and ask you what you think and not say, well, no, I didn't ask what someone so-and-so said. I want to know what you think. And I think it's, if we all in our respective roles do that and provide that opportunity for people, that's how we can help each other grow, because it's not easy being the only woman in the room, but you just have to remember that you have value and, you know, you bring your own unique perspective to the table. And you just have to, I think we all have to remember to find ways to encourage people so that we're providing opportunities for others as well.
Well, wow, that you know, and the reason I always say, you know, I want you to be a leader and everyone on the screen and go as far as you can go, because I value your perspective. I value the female perspective, which is different than my own, you know, and if we're just going from my perspective, we're leaving out all the young ladies, you know, that want to see things a certain way, all the mothers that want to see certain, the sisters that want to see certain. So we need that female perspective. You know, so if I can do anything to help, you know, chip away at that glass ceiling, you know, I'm with you. So thanks for pointing that out. Let's go to Natalie. Let's talk. And Natalie, and it's funny I should go to you because, you know, when I made that call to you that day and asked you to take this role in leadership and to, you know, lead this whole city in this healthcare crisis that we're in. You know, I recognize that you were a lot younger than the last guy that was there and the guy that was there before that and the guy that was there before that and the guy was, so, that's why I asked you, you know, are you ready? And when you said you were, I had true belief, you know, and because I've seen what you've already done, you know, but you are probably one of the youngest females and one of the only females in your area working in EMA. So can you talk a little bit about that and what you feel? Do you feel as though you've broken that ceiling to some extent?
So in emergency management, women are very new still, and the timestamp for that is post 9/11, is when women really started to make a breakout. And when you have an emergency management profession that is still technically in its infancy, seeing it only was started in around the 1950s, it has primarily been a male-dominated profession. And what I mean by that is typically men retire out of being a police chief or a fire chief or a military official, and they transitioned into this role of emergency management from the 50s all the way through 9/11, and it was heavily led by men. The chain of thought was more men can do this because they've had that experience on the front lines, but the reality is emergency management is not tactical. It's not walking the pavement. It's not picking up debris. It's strategic planning and understanding what's going on with our community organizations who's having economic issues. So in order to do that, having the experience on the front lines is great, but in order to do it strategically, you have to take yourself out of that element. And if you've retired out of a position, that makes it difficult. So the struggles with that was women were often overlooked because they weren't transitioning out of those higher seated male-dominated fields. So after 9/11, really when women started coming in, as I said, and what was seen with that shift was because women had a lot of diversity to offer, and Lieutenant also touched on this, we can think of things in a different light, and we can bring some new ideas to the table. It has been a difficult road. Like I said, I was a paramedic before this, and again, a male-dominated field, but I had to just take it day by day. I was raised with humanitarian aid and civil service in my household. I grew up under a fire chief who was, for lack of a better term, they were part of the good old boys club, and he was fire chief for a very long time. But what was different about him is he was very progressive in who he chose to put on a volunteer fire department. And if you remember, Mayor, in our conversation, where I come from, we depend a lot on volunteers, and it's not your gender or your background or your knowledge, it's what can you bring to the table. So as long as you keep proving yourself and be true to yourself and keep attaining goals and training, you will get to where you need to be and be a part of the group that you belong in. The glass ceiling is going to take a while to clear for a lot of women in the industry. I do have partners at the county and state level who are in leadership positions that are women, and they rock it just like the rest of us do, but it is going to take a while to get there.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, now I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. We've been talking about the glass ceiling, and we talk about that for a reason, because we don't want the glass ceiling just to be broken for us, these women that are on the screen now, or just the few folks that you want it to be broken for all the young little ladies that might want to follow in your footsteps and do the job that you do, and open that door, and give them an opportunity, and Ruthie, I'm gonna ask you, what lessons do you have for young women who may be interested in your field or working in government, or the lessons learned that you can tell them by you becoming a leader?
First, I want to say that they would need to be absolutely confident and ready to learn. They have to be that sponge that wants to absorb as much knowledge as they possibly can, no matter if it's in a managerial role or like in the city of Aurora, you touched on it earlier. Alicia did. We have unions. So even in a union role, you want to try to learn from both sides, because that will be so beneficial to you in the future. And I would say for me, it has been a learning experience. You have to learn how to starve your distractions. You want to feed that focus, because when you feed your focus, beyond the sky is the limit for you. And, you can have every opportunity to shape your career and be the master of your own fate. So just learn and feed that focus. And one last thing I do want to say, I am so proud to be part of the City of Aurora team, because what I see is nothing but equality and diversity. And it shows in this department alone, 16 inspectors, 7 of them are women. So it just shows, any department you look at within the city, it just shows that equality. And I am so proud to be part of this team.
I'm glad to have you part of the team as well. My grandfather used to tell me something when I was a young man, everything you do well, be committed to it and work hard, and you'll succeed. Now, Boyd had said that sometimes when she walks in the room, she's the only female in the room. And many times when I had walked in the room as a lawyer, as a politician, I'm the only African-American in the room. So I understand that to some extent. I don't understand, how from the female perspective, but I understand from the minority perspective. So in that sense, maybe I can, sympathize and understand, where you're coming from and the struggles you have to do to get there, but, so sometimes it's difficult, and let's go to, I'm going to go to Alicia, who's African-American and a woman, and, one of the few executives in the city of Aurora. Talk about this glass ceiling, and did you ever think that you'd, be in that leadership position, and, how'd you navigate that landscape?
No, I didn't think I would be here. And different people have different perspectives. Some visualize where they want to be, and others just work hard and take opportunity as opportunity comes. And that was my path. I committed to whatever job I was doing, and what I saw is that people recognize that and offered opportunity to me. Human resources, you have more women in that field, and so the glass ceiling is different. It's not so much, breaking through men and women, but I think in human resources, we have to make sure that people understand how important HR is, to be at the table, to be a strategic partner, because our workforce makes the success of the organization. So that's to me, the glass ceiling we have to break through in this field. Human resources is trying to let other people recognize the importance of human resources and how integral we can be in the success of the organization.
It's great. That's great. We're coming up on our time, just a few minutes, and I do want to see if there's a couple questions from the audience. But before I move on, I want to leave off with Maria. Maria, you have a little girl who's 6 years old.
Chloe is 4.
4 years.
And I have Ryan that has tried coming into this.
You tried to come into the whole Zoom meeting. You've been holding him back. What do you tell little Chloe, 4-year-old Chloe, as she's grows up about, the glass ceiling, or how she will overcome and be that strong woman, the same strong woman that you are? And we all want to see our children, achieve more than us. What do you tell Chloe about her future and achievement?
The number one thing that I always tell Chloe is that, yes, you can do it. Yes, you have to keep doing it. And one thing that I tell both of my kids, like you mentioned, Mayor, is when you do something, do it right. Do it right, so that way you can show your passion, be humble about it, and always try to do the best at everything that you do. I think that if you try to do the best at whatever is presented, I think that you will go far. So I'm always pushing my kids, always do your best, always try to do it, the best that you can, so people can see that you're being honest, and so people can be proud.
Ms. Muhammad, I think you probably agree. We got some very strong women on this call with us today, leaders in the city of Aurora.
Absolutely, phenomenally strong women, for sure. Mayor, we've done this 28 times, Mayor. Just haven't seen the response on social media like we have for this one. Please, ladies, look at the comments. Just love from throughout the city. One teacher said in her classroom right now, she's playing "I'm Every Woman" by Shaka Khan right now. Beyonce's "Run the World." Alicia Keys, "This Girl Is on Fire." The bases you're given. Let me give 2 quick quotes. "So wonderful to hear from these amazing women. Our city is bursting with girl power." That's from Chief Kristen Zeman. She says she loves you all. Rock it out. And this is a great cast of women in leadership in Aurora. Thank you all for representing. That's from our Chief Information Officer, Mike Piggy's entire team watching, shouting you all out as you keep going. A couple questions, Mayor. I'd like to note as well that there are a number of classrooms who are pushing this right into their Zoom classroom, Mayor, so kids can watch and listen. Teachers are saying they love the nuggets of information, particularly for young girls. And so, if there's a way to conclude with even some more of those pieces of information you pass on to girls, they're watching all over Aurora. Couple questions. During COVID, this is for Natalie. During COVID, EMA has helped a lot with our food distribution, the volunteers. How can I become a volunteer with you for EMA? It's one of the questions from our viewers, Natalie.
Oh, I'm so glad that's asked, because we are in desperate need of volunteers. We are going through some changes in procedures and policies, but if you do visit the city website and go under the emergency management link, you can find it under city services at the top of the page. There will be a hyperlink that you can click, and will take you to a PDF application, and it will come automatically to my mailbox, and we will put you on the list for when we do our next round of volunteers.
Incredible, thank you. Questions for Bea. Bea, the viewers says people are struggling during COVID. These financial times are hard. How can we connect to the Financial Empowerment Center? What can you do for individuals and families to really help us get back on our feet?
Oh, great question. Yes, we have a website, cityofaurorafec.org. You can go directly to the book online tab, and one of our counselors will contact you for your first one-on-one session. We do a financial health assessment first, and then co-create a plan that works with your goals for your household. And we serve 18 and over. So as long as you're 18 and over, whoever you are, you can sign up for that session. Another
For free.
It's completely free. And you can also go to any of our social media pages. Our social media handle is at Aurora FEC, and it'll be easy for you to contact us through those channels.
Thank you. We'll be sharing that on the city main page as well as your information too, Natalie, as well. Question, Amy Monroe, business community. One restaurant owner said, thank you so much for the work you guys put in with financing businesses during COVID, particularly with the Stable Fund. Can you just give a little highlight of how much money was given, nearly the 700,000, and what was done to get that money into the hands of businesses?
So I appreciate that comment. Thank you. And we certainly appreciate our businesses, particularly our small businesses. So as the respondent noted, over 700,000 was given out or dispersed to date through the Stable program. And so the city worked with its partner agency, Invest Aurora, to facilitate getting funds to our small and micro business owners. And so we, like I said, we appreciate just all of the work that our business owners have done, and we understand and sympathize that this has been a very difficult time. And so we are constantly looking for ways to just continue to support this community with our HUD dollars, and we will. This will remain a priority for us.
Thank you. And final question before I turn it back over to you, Mayor, for Alicia. You have over 1,200 employees in the city. Can you talk just a little bit about what HR has done during COVID? You kind of pivot and prepare and to protect the staff at City Hall.
Oh, sure. Well, communication first came from human resources with the pandemic, and advising our management employees what to do, how we were going to address the issue of the pandemic. And so that filtered through HR when we went into the shutdown. We had to do a new normal. How do we function, continue to provide services to the community when the city is shut down, when folks are working from home? And so having to put in new policies, the telecommuting policy, and advising management on how to manage rotational schedules in order to keep the workforce going. And so we played a large part in that. And then we rolled out Activate Aurora, which was preparing the city to open back up to the community. And how do we do that safely, and making sure that the health of our employees was taken into consideration. And so that included signage of our buildings, making sure everybody understood what the safety protocols were, getting out a health and safety handbook. And we continue to do that because we're not out of this. We're continuing to function in a new world. And so we continue to make sure that we're giving the best direction we can to make sure that not only our employees, but our community is healthy and safe.
Thanks so much, Alicia. Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. I want to say, ladies, that it's been my pleasure to have you on today and to show our community. And we should have done this a long time. And I do hope this is only, the first of many sessions that we have with our female leadership here in the city of Aurora, so we can highlight you and let our community know, who is actually running the city and how we're able to hold it up and make sure we take care of our residents. But what I'd like to do to close out a little bit differently today than I normally do is I would like Alex Voigt to close out. And I'd like you to close out by answering this question, because Alex has a brand new little one, brand new little baby girl.
Yes.
If you had to if you had to say, write something for her today, that you want her to know in the future about, you know, being a young, strong, you know, she's only 5 months old, right?
8.
8 months old. I say, oh my gosh, 8 months old now. Wow. But she's almost walking. You had to write something today about, you know, what you'd like to tell her in the future, you know, about her being a strong female leader and, you know, making, you know, her community and family proud and stepping up. What would you say to her?
That's a great question. I would tell her that when she starts out in the world, where she starts isn't where she has to end up. You start where you start. Like everyone else said, work hard, take every opportunity that you get. It doesn't matter if it's doing the, you know, the grunt work or the typing or whatever, because you're going to learn something. You'll find something out along your way, and it's up to you to just keep putting one foot in front of the other and ending up, you know, as Alicia said, some people know where they're going and some people end up somewhere amazing. And I would just remind her, you don't automatically start at the end, you start at the beginning, if that makes any sense. So
it makes perfect sense, and we will close on that. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you all around City Hall when we get open one day, or talking to you on our numerous Zoom meetings that we have. But thank you for everything you do for the city of Aurora, and thank you for being strong leaders in our community. Bye now.
thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.